the group.
What's
James,
going
how you
on,
doing?
Mark? I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good.
Just had a video that's going viral that we made with one of my guys. Um, a trick or tweak video with Bryson Wright with Battle Sports. So if anybody wants to go check out my IG, it's funny. I'm the get off my lawn guy. I'm the old man, so it's funny. But my bad, just my
When did
phone's
that
been blowing
happen?
up.
When
Well,
did
we
that?
recorded.
No,
Recorded
did
on
you just
Sunday.
become the get off my lawn guy?
I don't know.
That's
No,
what
I
I'm
think I
asking.
just became that.
Okay.
But it's some of these words like 6'7" and tweakers and some of these words that they're using. I feel like Grandpa Abe from The Simpsons. I once was it, and then I was no longer it, and then what it was scared me. It's just like so. It's kind of like I don't know what's going on, man. But hopefully, my young sons will keep me cool. So like, I'm going for that.
Tweaker takes me out. I'm with you. Like that was a bad thing when we were coming up, and now tweaking, that's good. I don't get it.
It's also some other words that are just interesting, man. So, but like, yeah, but it's all good, man. Hey, it was fun. It shows the power of PR. So I'm good with it. So.
Well, Florida State could use some PR magic right now. But the better PR would be obviously getting out there to get a win against Wake Forest. And I said something that Florida State fans probably don't want to hear, but I don't know that they can argue with. Certainly George didn't, is that until they get on the field against Wake Forest, you got to say Wake Forest is a better football team right now. They're playing better right now.
Hands down, unequivocally. Much better than Florida State right now. You are what your record indicates and what you put in the product that you put on the field. I could like you all day, but at the end of I have to be able to be transparent. And right now, even our offensive numbers are lies, in my opinion. Yards, statistics, we put those things up, but they're with no points. So when there's no points, there is no point. So when you're going 3 and out in inopportune situations, it makes it difficult for the defense to be able to make the adjustments. That's why I was telling people when they're getting on Fuller last year, I'm like, guys, chill out. Like Fuller didn't just forget how to become a defensive coordinator. And now Mike is getting that heat. I do like Mike. I think he's a good coach. I think, but one thing I always try to tell people is let's not make things what they aren't. Sometimes things just don't work out. And what it feels like right now, and at the event that I was at before this with the Gator Bowl, it feels like things aren't working out. And it's unfortunate, but it's part of the business. You get paid a lot of money to win a lot of football games. So either he's going to figure it out or he won't. But either way, you know what I'm going to do, Mark? I'm going to go get me I only eat hot dogs during football season. I don't eat hot dogs any other time of the year, but I'm going to go get me a good grilled, burnt hot dog, and I'm going to say I'm going to make sure my booster contribution goes in. I'm going to support the team, and then if they need me to pony up for some buyout money, I'll probably do it. If they need me to, but I'm going to talk about the real, and I can like them afterwards. It's nothing personal; it's all business.
I used to throw 3 dogs on the grill like a couple times a week just because it was so easy. But since I moved, I've yet to get a grill and need to do that because when you're a bad cook, then that's the cure-all right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, James, we were talking about the Mike Alford statement about we're going to assess the situation at the end of the year. You predicted 8-4. I did. I think George did. I don't know where George was record-wise.
I was right there. I said Vegas had it right. Yeah, I said 7.5 is good.
So they can still get there in a way that people wouldn't necessarily believe, but they could get there, and then they're assessing an 8-4 team that was out of it by the end of September, basically, somewhere in that range. Do you interpret that as he's gone, we're saving some money getting to a buyout to a certain date?
Here's what I really think what's happening is I think both parties, if anything, Jimmy Sexton represents Mike Norvell. So he's with CAA. Jimmy understands the game and the landscape, right? Florida State understands the game and the landscape. Florida State fans should be, if you think outside the box and what the traditional things is, if he continues to lose, yes, we will. I honestly think if he loses to Wake Forest, they'll go ahead and make the announcement because they know they're not going to, it's not going to get any better. But I do believe that if he wins out, I think there'll be an amicable split. One where he's able to, there's an Arkansas job that's available. Arkansas might be a better fit. He went to school in Arkansas, went to college in Arkansas. Probably a little bit less expectations because as much as people want to have SEC pride, there's only a couple of teams in the SEC who've ever won a national championship. I think, you want him to be able to get a better job that helps with the buyout. And for some of the things that I've heard, through the grapevine is that it's a matter of time. It's inevitable. It's not. What did they say? It's inevitable, not immediate. That's what it was. So I think that helps everybody in the grand scheme of things. But you're looking at some of these open job openings, like at the end of the day, like when some of these other ones pop up, I don't think it's over. Like Jimmy Sexton is spooky season. Every time around Halloween is when Jimmy Sexton, the boogeyman, starts working. I think you're going to see some other dominoes fall toward the end of this season that nobody expected to fall. And there's going to be some juggernaut jobs that might be open because guys, again, are testing the waters of the NFL. They're testing the waters of other spots in college football, or I believe guys like Lane Kiffin, I do believe there's a kind of pseudo agreement, but the more he wins at Ole Miss, the less it makes sense to leave because you'll be able to retire at Ole Miss and make comparable money. So I think Mike is in a position to where he's essentially auditioning for multiple jobs, including the Florida State one. Where are you gonna coach? But it can't just be wins. It has to be wins where you actually look like the dominant team because you've already given up the grace.
Do you think it really hurts Florida State with all these other job openings? Obviously, there's only so many great coaches, and there's going to be some kind of carousel, but this carousel is going to be crazier than anything we've ever seen.
I definitely think that, and I also think you're going to see people make moves that aren't your traditional moves. Like you'll see guys going to the NFL, and then you'll see guys leaving the NFL, coming back to college, and there'll be some coordinators. You also may see, I think the next thing that athletic directors are going to be looking for are true guys that they feel can come in and make things happen. So like they're not gonna get that coordinator they're not gonna get that head coach from a G5, but you may see a G5 head coach leave and become a coordinator at a P5 because the money is going to be comparable, and then take that next step. So they know what it's like to be a head coach, but they also have been able to show that they're an expert in the X's and O's on this side of the ball, and then they'll take that next step. Kind of what, not so much a G5, but kind of what Tony White was supposed to do. And I think I think those things also look good. But well, there is a good coach out there. But I think I asked the last time I was on, Mark, and I asked people on my show, and I've asked people on social media, when we take the emotion out of it and show me where it's worked firing a coach this early. Like, show me when they fired a coach this early and they were on track to win a natty. And I think we can maybe use LSU a little bit, but Les Miles wasn't a bad coach. Les Miles won like all the excuses that they have for everybody else. Les Miles won a national championship, right? And then they fired him to bring in somebody else. I mean, to bring in Eddie O. And Eddie O was a retread, but they just put the money and the resources behind him and they made it work.
George, do you have a list of candidates that you like? Have you thought about who your pecking order is of reasonable replacements?
I mean, that's opening up a can of worms. There's no doubt. And before I answer that, to James's point about Arkansas and Mike Norvell, I listened to Jen when it comes to coaching rumors and what she's hearing behind the scenes and things like that. And that's the first thing she said Monday night was Mike Norvell. There might be something in the works that could be a fitting destination for him. And if that is true, if whatever, if he ends up at Arkansas, that solves your buyout problem because I'm sure it'll offset whatever they pay him a little bit. Yeah, that'd be great. As far as candidates, James hit on another one of my big, sticking points on this candidate search is Lane Kiffin. If you get Lane Kiffin, you take Lane Kiffin. All right. But Florida State's not even mentioning that because they got their coach right now. Some people think that Florida State's barking up that tree. I'm not sure. I don't have that knowledge or insight where they are with Lane or if they're trying to talk to him behind the scenes. But James Franklin, some of these other names out there as far as head coaches moving over, I just don't know. I'd rather them find whoever the top coordinator is and bring him in and give him a shot. But, in the particular situation we are after Willie Taggart and Mike Norvell, the instinct is to go safe, go proven this and that. But, when you talk about retreads in the history of college football, it worked for Eddie O at LSU, but 90% of the time it don't work. Brian Kelly coming down from Notre Dame, one of the hottest coaching. Oh, this is a big thing. It didn't work out. There is no Nick Saban, to James's point. The last time we talked about this left, you got, Dan Lanning up at Oregon, who coached under Kirby Smart and all kinds of people. I don't know. I haven't done enough due diligence into Glenn Schumann. I'd like to have a defensive guy. If there was a top defensive coordinator out there that could recruit his ass off, excuse my language, cared about high school recruiting and would hire an offensive coach, that would be great. I'm curious what James and you think about the Jimbo Fisher stuff, if any of that's real, or it's just fan smoke. I mean, you got Brewster on here on Twitter talking about, oh yeah, let's go win another national championship. Like he just got hired on to the new staff Jimbo's putting together. Half the FSU media people are all for it. The other half would rather burn to the ground. So I'm curious about y'all's thoughts on that. But for me, a coordinator is what I'm looking for, a top coordinator.
Here's, do people not remember Jimbo? Like, we're treating Jimbo Fisher like everybody treats Michael Jordan. And don't get me wrong, Michael Jordan, GOAT. But they talk about Michael Jordan in a 6-season span, the consecutive championships. Nobody talks about the years before that, and they were calling Michael Jordan the GOAT before he ever won a NBA championship. So like I remember it because my generation was marketed to it. Like I'm the one that they pushed the nasty Gatorade to. I'm the one. Actually, I'm wearing Jordans right now. I'm the one they sold shoes to, like to get that. He had to be every bit of great to get that. But when you compare him to other greats, it's an unfair advantage because everybody goes back to, well, he didn't lose in the finals. And not the fact that he missed the finals most of his career. And then toward the end, even when he was 40, his team stunk. And how many shots he took. But so bear with me now. Jimbo Fisher was about to be fired from Florida State until the 2012 season. Who was the offensive coordinator that got Bobby Bowden fired? Anybody in the comments? Anybody watching right now? Anybody want to just take a Jeopardy question? You know why I know? Because I actually got into media that I got in trouble because I said if they fire the old man, fire everybody. Because the offenses ain't scoring. The defense is trying to stop people, but the offense isn't scoring. Jimbo Fisher was the offensive coordinator for 2 years under the greatest coach in college football and couldn't average 20 points a game. So that's part of the Jimbo Fisher era. Because what we can't do is we can't look at Mike Norvell for the 2022 season and the 23 season, correct? We have to look at the totality. How many losing seasons did he have compared to winning season? So 2 mid seasons. Then he takes the job. A lot of mid there too. Lost to some teams that you shouldn't. And the fan base was saying things like, yo, Bobby could have done this. We didn't need to do all of this for that. Then 2012, we won in spite of. 2023, you have, excuse my bad. I apologize. 2012, you win in spite of. 2013, Jameis Winston, one of the greatest college football quarterbacks of all time, comes into play, and he gets you through 24. And then after that, you get one more, and then there's this thing called mediocrity again. And everybody likes to talk about the losing seasons, but people forget, what was Jimbo Fisher's record when he left Florida State? He was 5-6. Odell won those last 2 games to make them over that. On top of that, do you remember what this man had already accepted a job in theory before the season started? This man left Florida State. He did not recruit. We have guys that like Matt Dadgummit. His name is, he's up at Georgia Tech now. He was at Grayson High School when we had all those Grayson kids committed. This man has said we lost communication. We lost communication to anybody recruiting us while Jimbo was there. You are telling me, yes, he won a national championship. You know what? K. Watts, thank you, Kenyatta Watson. He go look up what Kenyatta Watson was saying about Florida State and their recruiting. The man quit on us. He left kicking and screaming. And what's worse is I don't mind the fact that he left. That's dope. I would leave for $75 million too. Jimbo has 75 million reasons to leave Florida State. But now I'm going to talk about not just what he did. Florida State, I can't win there. We don't have the resources. We didn't put any of those things in there. He quit on recruit training. But everybody talks about a national championship, but everybody says Les Miles is a trash coach, right? Les Miles won a natty. Nobody's picking him up. Nobody's screaming, go get him. Ed Ogeron won a natty. Heck, I want Ed O. Eddie O is fun. At least it'll be fun. But let's talk about what he did when he had every resource. Every resource in a college program that hadn't won a championship since Technicolor, since the last Great War. But they wanted to win. He recruited his behind off. He did not win. In fact, I'd argue he had just as much success as the guy they fired to bring him in, but cost them twice as much. And guess what happened when they fired him and left? If they got worse, I would have been cool with it. But Texas A&M might win the SEC. So stop. If you got I'm gonna give you guys some game. From free game from big game. If you got a bad chick one time, that means you could get a bad chick again. Jimbo Fisher was a bad chick that thought she could do better, and she went to the streets and she left you. Stop, be a man or be adults and stop begging for somebody who went out and whored themselves out and said that you weren't good enough. You're good enough, Florida State fans. Look in the mirror. Say it with your chest. Have some pride. Like that, I don't dislike Jimbo as a coach, but like there are better options than a guy that we just saw got ran out of College Station. With everything that you're talking about, this new guy hasn't done. Like Jimbo quit. Remember how many they're selling tickets right now for Florida State for $15 for homecoming. They were selling tickets for like $5, and Jimbo's trying to fight fans. Y'all don't remember that? I do. I remember writing the article and Jimbo getting mad because I'm telling the truth. You can't be sassy, sensitive, and suck. You got to pick a struggle. You can't do all of those things. Again, if it happens, I'm going to back him. I'm going to back him because I back the logo. But God dang it, if we go for that before we go for anything else, at least James Franklin, you'll say James Franklin hasn't won the big game. But we just saw last year James Franklin one play away from the national championship. So miss me on he can't win the big. And we also know there's only, I believe, 2 other coaches who have won more games in the last 5 years than James Franklin. I believe it's 2 or 3. One of them is in Oregon. One of them is in Ohio State.
And I would guess Kirby Smart's there.
My bad. It was 3.
Yeah,
Kirby as well. It was 3. We're in the landscape of win 10 and you're in. He's going to win 10. He doesn't just recruit well. Yeah, forget the rankings, but forget the rankings for me and look at the draft picks for Penn State. That lets me know he recruits what he needs and he develops them. He went and found a kid that from Mandarin, AJ Belgrave Shorter, who we didn't even want to go after at Florida State. He went in Florida State's backyard and found a starting safety. Like, these are the things that we got to remember, guys. Like, things happen. Sometimes it doesn't work. But just because we had happy moments, I have a lot of happy moments with exes. I don't want to be back with them. They're my exes for a reason. I expect them to do the things that I don't like. And why would I go back because they do a couple things I like and they do a million things that annoy me? All I'm saying is, guys, let's just be, let's breathe and just like, it's just like, let's try to find somebody new. That's all I'm saying.
Hey,
Well,
I'm with you. It would
ahead,
take
George.
what? I was just going to say that whole, like the honeymoon phase, it'd be like 2 weeks into the season if Jimbo starts off losing. Like, you'd have guys at the coaches show asking questions he didn't want to answer. That thing could be contentious fast. I agree. Good memories, bad memories with Jimbo, but yeah, going backwards and bringing Jimbo in.
I posted a video in the offseason when West Virginia went and got Rich Rod to come back, and UCF went and got Scott Frost to come back. So I went through my memory log, went through the Rolodex between my ears, and then I verified it online just to make sure I wasn't missing anyone. And I came up with like 13 or 14 head coaches in modern college football history who've gone back to their original job, who came back for a second stint. None of them, zero, were as successful the second time around. For whatever reason, we can have all sorts of theories, and I threw out my list of theories as to why it's never the same the second time. So history just shows us. Now, somebody could buck the trend, but history shows us that doesn't work.
Bill Snyder the best?
Bill Snyder would be the best
He had some
example of,
success.
but
Yeah.
his second stint was nowhere close to his first stint.
Right.
His first stint, he went through a 10-year run of finishing in the top 5 to 10 in the nation, bunch of BCS bowls, contending for national championships. Now they were down big for 3 years when he took his little hiatus with Ron Prince, winning 5 or 6 games, and he came back and he brought them, but it was a lot of 8 and 5s. He was nowhere close to what he had done the first go around.
And again, we're talking about Kansas State, and I have no problem with Kansas State. I actually liked Bill Snyder when he was. He had Michael Bishop. So a lot of the guys that I remember watching when I was coming up were there. But like, where are we? Again, it's like, what are we comparing to? Like, our problem is we're not used to coaching searches. We're not used to being sucky because we had one of the greatest coaches of all time for so long, and he was the picture of consistency. But let's go. Like, I think I saw a list. We talked about it on my show. The list of the jobs that were open. It's like 15 major jobs open right now. Kent State being 5, right? I'm not, like, obviously I know we're a better job than Kent State. When you go up to the top of it, you've got, I think they had LSU as the number 1 gig. And LSU, their governor just interjected. And I love it because everybody says keep politics out of sports, but politics keeps getting into sports. So I know we're safe now. Like, if that's happening, I know we're safe. Florida was the number 2 job. But you know who's been in this situation 3 times since I've been in media? Florida. So, like, clearly firing a coach early and hiring a coach ain't working. And the standard is shifting. And the reason why I say that is, they're about to expand the college football playoff again. The goal is to win a natty, right? And they're making it easier to get into the pool to be able to play. So going undefeated is no longer especially as long as they play the seasons. Going undefeated is no longer a real overall viability because you're going to lose. You're going to drop a game. You just have to be able to get to 10 wins. And I saw in the comments somebody said I didn't think 10 wins was that hard to do at Florida State. Jimbo left Florida State 5-6. Like Jimbo couldn't do it consistently. He did it a few times, and I think it's good. I think he's good. I think we'll find a guy that is on par, but we've got to we got to change. We have to let the process play itself out. That would be my only thing, and because it ain't going to change this year. If we fire a coach now, all you're going to do is cry about every loss they're going to have anyway. So then you're going to ask, when are we going to hire a new coach? I'd rather just I'd rather not pay $55 million or whatever it's supposed to be. I know they're going to negotiate it down, but I feel we should let things play out.
Somebody in the chat is asking about Dave Aranda, and I'm thinking, what has Dave Aranda done to earn the Florida State job?
Yeah, where is he at? Like, wait a minute. Yeah.
Going 500 at Baylor. He's basically a 500 coach at Baylor. I could pull up his record, and I guarantee it's within 3 games of 500. So what has he done to earn the job?
Dave is one of the names I'm hearing about to be on the. He'll be available. I can tell you that much. I know that he'll be available. That's one of those. Again, watch the Baylor job, watch the USC job, and watch the Bama job.
Would you like to have Lincoln Riley?
I'd take Lincoln Riley in a heartbeat because at least I know my quarterback's going to get developed and the offense is going to be exciting. But going down the frame of thought that he said, I wouldn't mind a defensive-minded coach to come in. When I'm looking at the schools that, like I look at Oregon and I look at, obviously, Georgia. So you have to play complementary football. That's something that I've talked about the last few years. Even going under tag, they didn't play the offense didn't complement the defense. You have to have something like Ed O, when he was like, that's probably the best we've ever seen. And I guess Dave would have been the DC then at that time of an offense and a defense kind of being in sync. I guess outside of Florida State's national championship with Jimbo, a defensive coach is going to pick an offensive coordinator that will play to the strengths of their defense. So you go look at what Kirby's really tried to do, did a really good job of emulating what Saban does. His offense is not sexy. They haven't had a dominant wide receiver in quite some time. Even George Pickens wasn't that dominant. They haven't had a quarterback that's overly sexy. But what they have done is they don't turn the ball over often. They run the ball very well. As I joke on my show, they play good D, and it's a good top will win you a lot of things in life. So they play a time of possession and they're playing defense. Keep you off the field. That is essentially the strategy with Georgia. That was essentially the strategy with Nick Saban until he got Lane Kiffin on there and they opened it up. I would be okay with that. But I'm also okay with getting a Franklin or a guy to come in and really just stabilize the program. And, again, give me 10 wins. But right now, the offense at Florida State, even on the run in 23, has never complemented the defense. And Mike has put the defense in some precarious situations, like going for it on 4th down inside your own 40. I've seen that more times under Coach Norvell than I've ever seen. And I watch a lot of football on a day-to-day basis. So I think get a defense. I wouldn't mind a defensive guy. And I don't know what James Franklin is. I just know James Franklin's a good coach. But I know he hasn't had a good offensive coordinator. Whatever James Franklin do on defense, I want you to keep that. Bring me a good OC and bring me Juwan Sider. Don't make him the OC. Give him like co-OC or something like that. But I don't want Sider calling plays. But I know Sider is a terrorist on the recruiting trail. He gets it.
Well, I think James Franklin is a really good head football coach. People obviously are tearing him to shreds because he can't win the big game. But again, there's only a few of those guys out there. But defensively, I don't know how much to credit James Franklin versus having in a row Brent Pry, Manny Diaz, and Tom Allen as his defensive coordinators. So,
hey, he hired him.
They've had
But
3 really good ones. Well,
I'll take Franklin because just the hole we're in of recruiting and the roster and all the portal stuff with the rules changing. Like I made the joke to Jen and Tiny Hat, like even if he's our Ron Zook, that would be a success if he comes in and stabilizes recruiting and builds a 4-year consecutive recruiting classes and getting the roster back to something close to what Florida State's going to be. Maybe then you can have a more, what's the word I'm looking for? A more desirable destination for head coaches at that point. So yeah, Jimbo, throw that crap out the window. I'd love to have a defensive coordinator, but I agree with James that I'd take James Franklin in that. We know we're going to have a top at Florida State, I would say top 10 to top 15 recruiting class. And to James's point, not just stars, but more of what we see out of the Desir twins this year in just kind of getting guys that are dogs and not necessarily just because they got their 4th star, you offer them on December, whatever.
So we caught this during the end of our Miami show, and I didn't know if it was true or not. So we looked into it. It's pretty easy to do with a thing called Google. But Virginia Tech has apparently hired James
They officially
Franklin.
did it? Dang.
That was the rumors? Holy shit.
I know it was the rumor. I knew it was the rumor, but I didn't know they officially got it, man.
That surprises me.
That happened while we were alive. That had to have just happened.
Well, you know what? One thing I've learned too, Miami fans should know this better than anybody, Mark. There was a time when there was a young man named Manuel Diaz. Manuel Diaz signed he left as a DC at the University of Miami to become the head coach of Temple University for about a week. And then Miami had to pay the buyout, $5 million buyout to Temple for him to come back to be Miami's head coach. I'm not saying that will happen, but I don't like that hire. Not because I don't like to hire James Franklin. I don't like that hire because he might make Virginia Tech into something, man. So that's tough, man.
Wow, is he going to be on the field when we play him? Oh, that's like
now he gets the only thing the other reason why I wanted James Franklin or a guy who is a retread. They get a chance to audit the program in real time. So you got guys that, you hit the portal if you want to, or you could just go play. Show me what you got. He can go recruit. That's like, again, when you fire a coach in the middle of the season, you just create a hole. And there's nothing that can be done about that hole. Like now, Virginia Tech can actually build and start taking steps toward making their program right, getting in the right direction. So, cool. Good for him.
Yeah, which hasn't been the case for about 10 years. And I guess I'm starting to think of Virginia Tech as not being much of a program, but it has been, obviously. Frank Beamer made it one. I kind of thought that James Franklin would either just, kind of go through the circus of looking for jobs to kind of shield that and protect that buyout, and take the buyout unless he really got one of the top jobs. But that is not the case.
Yeah, he obviously could have took whatever the case may be, or whatever he values and sees jobs at. He certainly could have got one higher on the scale than Virginia Tech. But hey, maybe he don't want that spotlight. Wants to just go to work and coach, and we'll see what happens. And James kind of hit the nail on the head earlier when he was talking about you just have to win 10 and get in these days. It's with the portal, the way recruiting is, NIL, all those things. Like, you might not want to be at the spotlight. You might, if you're just trying to get 10 and get in, you don't want to worry about getting fired for, he obviously didn't want what happened at Penn State to happen again, is what it looks like.
He already lived that. But for about 15 to 20 years, Frank Beamer showed that you can go 9-3 and 10-2 at Virginia Tech and pop up every few years and contend for a national championship.
Somebody in the comments actually brought up a name that checks a lot of boxes, and I never really even thought about that. Again, it comes to a name because again, he's when you say it, it registers more to me on the NFL side than it has on the college side. But, Matt Patricia actually wouldn't be a bad hire. I'm not opposed to that. Like, you got a guy with NFL, because now the reason why you go to college is just Mark. So I don't think people realize this. You don't go to college for the education, like not football, because then Harvard and Yale would still be winning national championships. You go to play in the NFL. So having a good NFL coach, with head coaching experience, understands scouting and how to develop, clearly understands defense, find him a good OC. I can see that. That'd be a guy that can come, like, now will he be able to talk to young men? But, you can find guys that can recruit. I think taking the off-field approach and building your university like an NFL front office is going to be the key to having a sustainable program in the future.
All right, final words, George.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been searching for names and I haven't really done enough work on it, but yeah, that's exactly the type of name I'm talking about. The problem with hiring a coordinator this year is with how wide open it is, and nobody's really just crazy. Like, there's not a ton of just, this offensive coordinator scoring 70 on everybody every week, or this guy's just shutting everybody up. Georgia's winning close games where they're giving up some points. Ohio State's schedule is just so blah, which even in this day and age, it's impressive what they're doing. Don't get me wrong. But when you look down the line, there's not many tests till they get to the playoffs. And, to that point, Florida State's strategy of waiting till after the season, if they hold to that, if we don't lose to Wake Forest and then he gets fired next week, well, you're not even going to be able to get some of those guys till after the playoff. You might get a commitment somewhere when the playoffs start, like after the playoffs or something like that, after a certain date. That could possibly happen. But yeah, I'd entertain Patricia, and yeah, that's it. Pretty funny. We're talking about Franklin possibly being coach at Florida State, and he goes to Virginia Tech live. Oh man, I guess they're trying to replace their big guy from the 80s and 90s. So maybe they got him with James Franklin. We'll see. But no, just appreciate you guys having me. As always, getting to talk to you and James is a blessing. And check out the channel. Go watch the roast. Jen and Tiny Hat are killing it every week with that, and we'll see how this game goes. We'll have a show for you guys after it.
Absolutely. Everyone, the Renegade Report right here on YouTube, and you see the handle to follow George on X. James, what do you got going on?
Just doing my thing. Big Games BS. We gave away. I know nobody wants to go to the game, but it is homecoming this weekend, so I gave away some tickets. We had a family that kind of made social media buzz again when they reshared their story. Some FSU grads, they're in the National Guard. They adopted 5 kids a few years ago that were they were all the kids were brothers and sisters. So they didn't want to break up the kids, so they got everybody involved. And some of them are still in school. A few of them have graduated, but we're taking 9. We're bringing all 9 of them to the game so that they can go enjoy it. I mean, again, regardless of what a lot of the fan base feels, there's some people going through some real stuff right now. And this is an escape, and this is cool. Like, you got Jamaica going through what they're going through. You got people who are affected by a lot of the stuff that we're doing. The goal is to bring happiness. It's supposed to be entertainment. So that's what we're trying to do with the channel, bringing education, entertainment, and fun to the masses. So we got that. We also have, again, I'm giving away 4 tickets to the Garden and Gold baseball game. So our baseball team is starting to get started with their exhibitions and things. So we'll give away stuff like that. Just gonna keep trying to create the buzz and hype. And then, like I said, I just did we filmed a commercial on Sunday with technically it's kind of like a client, but I don't want to call him that because I coach him. But he is the stalwart of my MFTK Spartan 7-on-7. So that's Bryson Wright. We did a battle commercial for Halloween. So it's pretty funny. If you go to @BigGameJames_36 or on Twitter, I just uploaded it. Or you can go to Battle Sports. It's their pinned post. It's already gotten a lot of views. Everything Bryson does goes viral. So we'll be doing our middle school showcase in a couple weeks, and then we'll be doing our high school showcase where we'll have some of the best talent in Southeast Georgia and Northeast Florida. We got a kid flying in from Arkansas, kid flying in from Cali to come try out for my 7-on-7 team. And we're trying to put a schedule out, and we're going to bring the hype wherever we're at. So there's a couple of places that, they're trying us, but again, I'm going to take my shots with B5. So, and we're going to go out there, we're going to whip some butt, have a lot of fun, and make some kids some money. I'm not a curmudgeon. I participate in capitalism, and I love my young men for being able to participate in capitalism as well.
James at Den Media Group and George at the Renegade Report. We'll be back here with more Florida State talk after the Wake Forest game. That will be sometime next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. Keep those notifications hot so you know when we go live, and we'll see you next week.